summer.
Cheers. Happy Friday. Happy hour. Somewhere.
Happy dogs. Happy hour.
Yeah, we have a new addition to our L Girl gang.
And she's really excited to be here.
Little Josie Jose.
This is Josie. She's almost 12 weeks old. She's a half golden retriever, quarter Aussie, quarter poodle for all the people who always ask me. And she and Bowie are best friends.
So today we wanted to talk about things to do before and after injectables and microblading. So it's something that we repeat over and over to our customers, and we thought having this video where people could refer back to it to remember the lists and lists of things to avoid would be helpful. So I, of course, do the injectable piece here at L, and Ziana does microblading as well as an array of other aesthetic services. And when you're dealing with cutting the skin or puncturing the skin in any way, obviously bleeding and bruising are a concern. And there are some tricks that you can use to minimize how much bruising you have and also maximize your treatment. So there are certain medications that you should avoid before injectables and microblading, and they include the NSAID or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory family of medications. This is aspirin, Aleve, and Advil. And avoiding them for about 1 week prior to your treatment is well advised. Aspirin can be found in other medications like Excedrin that people use for migraines, so reading labels is important. And while none of these medications are contraindicated, they will make you bleed and potentially bruise a little bit more. So if you can avoid them for a week before, then you will likely experience less bruising. So with regards to microblading, if you're taking any of those medications, not only may you bleed more during the procedure, but that also affects how the dye, is that what it's called? Dye?
The pigment.
Yes. Will be retained. So the more you bleed, the more you're pushing out the pigment that she's trying to put in. So avoiding those can affect the overall efficacy of your treatment. So avoiding those is a little bit more higher stakes when you're dealing with microblading. Again, it's not contraindicated, but you might not retain as much pigment and need more touch-ups based on how much you bled during the procedure.
Aside from you potentially not retaining the pigment as much, if you bleed more, it will take longer because I'm going to do everything in my power to try to keep that pigment in, but that means that I'm basically going back and forth, leaving pigment setting on there, trying to use a Q-tip to keep pushing it in. What I hear is that getting it done when you're hungover feels way worse.
Pain in general is a little bit worse for even the injectable patients too. And alcohol does thin your blood. It will stick around for about 24 hours. So if you can avoid alcohol pre and post injectable and microblading 24 hours, so the day before, the day after, then your results will be a little bit better. Exercise directly before you do a procedure. If your blood pressure is elevated or your heart rate is really elevated, that is going to also make you bleed a little bit more. Caffeine, because that increases your heart rate, that will also potentially increase bleeding.
In terms of post-treatment recommendations, I would say staying away from any type of intense exercising that would produce excessive sweating is something to be avoided. I usually say for at least a week, but especially in those first 2 or 3 healing days, you don't want to be pushing sweat out of the pores as you're trying to heal. You don't really want to touch it. If you do touch your brows, you want to make sure that your hands are really clean to avoid infection. And then when you go to the gym or touch anything, say you even take your hand to brush your hair out of your face, you're potentially risking getting that infection because the gym is a huge breeding ground for germs. It does make a big difference if you can keep them pretty dry, because if you do sweat, that heat and moisture that you're putting on yourself, or the heat and moisture that you experience during your exercise, is also kind of contraindicated in the other type of directions I said you home with, which is do not get them wet. If you do get them wet, you have to pat them dry, and when you pat them dry, you're risking taking off those scabs prematurely, and I'm wanting them to stay on for as long as they possibly can with no aided exfoliation from whether it be a towel or when you have a scab, heat, moisture, all of that helps the scab fall off earlier, which is not what I want. for you or for your brows. So if you can avoid exercising, hot water, long showers, sauna, steam room, all of that, then it's going to give you better results.
Mm-hmm. And with regards to Botox particularly, avoiding exercise after your treatment for about 24 hours is advisable. Anything that's going to heat up your face, so saunas, rubbing, head down activity that's going to sort of rush blood to your head, so that could be yoga. It's advised that you at least avoid it for about 24 hours post-procedure. Now, bruising is inevitable in a lot of these cases, no matter, I do my best to go slow and take my time and look for vessels, but even the most experienced injector can bruise someone. It's just, we're putting a needle in your skin, you're gonna bleed maybe, so it's just kind of like par for the course. And I always hate when I bruise someone, but there are tricks that you can do to help a bruise go away faster. So one thing is arnica. Arnica montana is an herb that you can take by mouth, a dissolvable tab that goes under the tongue. I do advise that, and actually you can take arnica before procedure too to kind of prepare you so that you might prevent a bruise that way. But there's another supplement called bromelain, and it's the enzyme in pineapple that can reduce inflammation and bruising. So you could actually just eat fresh pineapple or pineapple juice. Drinking lots of water, icing the area.
Something that's good for post-care for microblading, although I say that it's pretty good to keep them dry for the most part, if they are feeling tight, you can always use either Aquaphor or A&D ointment, either of which you can get at CVS. Aquaphor is great because it doesn't speed up the healing process, it just keeps the area moisturized, which in a way is really productive because when you're flexing your eyebrows, like if you don't have a lot of Botox in and you have like a lot of movement, you can cause a lot of premature cracking that can almost make the scabs fall off before they should. So I almost recommend putting on a thin layer of Aquaphor when they feel tight, but just a thin layer, not anything where you would be able to noticeably see the glossy, like a glossy thick layer. In terms of Botox and microblading as a combo package deal, there are a lot of clients that we have that want to do both. Botox takes 2 weeks to maximize, and if we both are working on the same mission and then your Botox starts to maximize, one side is going to look higher than the other because we are both working on the same mission. So 2 weeks either way, before or after, you should separate Botox and microblading no matter what. Don't book them close to each other.
Sure, and if you're new to Botox, I would advise doing brows first and Botox second. If you're not new to Botox and I do your Botox and I know you, then let's do what we normally do, let that work for 2 weeks and then do your brows, because that's where you're living with your Botox.
So neither Laura nor I am getting our eyebrows done tomorrow, so we're enjoying ourselves a nice Friday drink to conclude a wonderful work week where we got to go to an awesome training for SkinCeuticals in the middle of the week. We got to go to a really awesome rooftop pool at the Colonnade in Boston.
That place is so much fun. I cannot wait to go back.
No, it was a really good and productive week. Next week we're both slammed busy, so if you're trying to get in with us, it's good to book early, and our amazing office manager, Lexi, can always set you up with a great appointment.
Happy Friday. Cheers.
Cheers.
Making it through another awesome week, and bye from our little puppies.